Imagine standing on a sunlit hillside, the faint clatter of campfires behind you, and before you, a restless world sprawled in gold, green, and shadow. The year is 334 BC. At the edge of Europe, a young king looks east across the blue water, not just at the continent of Asia, but at the greatest empire known to man. He is barely 20, yet already his name, Alexander, carries the hope and the fear of nations. Most people remember Alexander the Great as a conqueror, a legendary figure who toppled the mighty Persian Empire and swept from Greece to the edges of India. But was he truly a visionary, or was he simply relentless, driven by a boundless hunger for glory and the echoes of his father's assassination? Picture Macedonia, a rugged, often dismissed kingdom to the north of glamorous Athens. Under his father, King Philip II, Macedonia became a forge for war. Philip's innovations, the fearsome phalanx, with its bristling wall of sarissa pikes, turned rough country boys into the most formidable army in Greece. Yet in a flash, Philip is murdered. The court teems with intrigue. At the heart of the storm, young Alexander moves swiftly. Rivals are cut down, generals swear loyalty or flee. Almost overnight, he claims the throne. With the ink still drying on his crown, rebellion erupts. Greek cities, sensing weakness, defy the young king. He moves with wildfire speed, crushing the mighty city of Thebes in a single, brutal lesson. The story is set. Challenge Alexander and face oblivion. What made this young king so different? Scholars debate if it was the influence of Aristotle, who drilled him in philosophy and science, feeding dreams of blending East and West. Perhaps it was the restless fire that burned in his blood, a certainty that only immortality was good enough for Alexander. In the spring, he crosses the Hellespont. The waters shimmer beneath his fleet. He hurls a spear onto Asian soil and declares it his by right of conquest. On the far bank, Persian satraps gather their cavalry, waiting along the banks of the Granicus River. The air is thick with dust and tension. Despite warnings from his generals, Alexander rides out at dawn, his companions at his side. Waves crash around the horse's knees as the Macedonians plunge forward under a rain of enemy arrows. Amidst the chaos, Alexander faces death. About to be struck by swords, he is saved in the nick of time by Cletus, who is his friend. Cletus's axe severs the arm of a would-be assassin. The battle cracks open, and as the wounded and dead are counted, Asia Minor lies exposed. Cities fall. Some open their gates and surrender. Others resist and are crushed. At Gordium, Alexander faces a legendary knot. It is said that whoever unravels it will rule all Asia. Alexander draws his sword and slices straight through the tangled cords. With a single stroke, myth bends to will. Victory breeds audacity. At Issus, he meets Darius, the king of kings. On a narrow plain squeezed between mountains and sea, the Persian army stretches as far as the eye can see. The Macedonian line, compact and disciplined, surges forward. Dust and screams fill the air. Alexander charges directly at Darius, sending the Persian king fleeing for his life, leaving behind his treasure, his family, and his pride. The world now knows fear. Tyre, a proud island city, stands next. For 7 months, Alexander's men sweat and bleed as they construct a massive causeway across the foaming sea, inching their siege towers ever closer to the impenetrable walls. When the city finally falls, its fate is sealed by fire and sword. The message is unmistakable. No place is beyond his reach. Then comes Egypt. Where the Nile meets the sea, Alexander is welcomed as a liberator. In Memphis and at the ancient oracle of Siwa, priests greet him not as a conqueror, but as a son of the gods. He is crowned pharaoh. He founds Alexandria, a city destined for immortality. By now, Alexander's ambition is boundless. In the blazing heat of Gaugamela, the plain shimmering in the Mesopotamian sun, Darius gathers all the might of Persia. Cavalry, chariots, battle elephants. Alexander surveys the expanse, then directs a gambit so daring that the Persian line is baited into chaos. At the right moment, he plunges through the gap, scattering enemies, sending Darius running once more. Babylon, Susa, Persepolis. All the jewels of Persia fall to the young king. Persepolis, the palace burns. Flames of firebrand thrown back through history. For the old wrongs, the Persians dealt Greece. But conquest brings new challenges. As Alexander marches further east through deserts, forests, and rivers, the landscape, the peoples, and his own men push back. Guerrilla fighters harass the invaders in Afghanistan. In Bactria, a drunken quarrel ends with Alexander slaying Cletus, the man who saved his life. Sorrow and paranoia begin to cloud his reign. He adopts Persian customs, demands divine honors, alienates his oldest companions. Some whisper he is no longer the same man who once led from the front. At the edge of the known world, amid the monsoon rains of India, Alexander faces King Porus on the banks of a swollen river. War elephants crash into the Macedonian phalanx. The earth itself shakes beneath the struggle. The battle is won, but the victory is costly. The hearts of his men break. Weary, wounded, longing for home, they refuse to go a step further east. The dream of conquering all the lands beneath the sun shatters. The return is a nightmare, a march through the burning wastes of the Jedrosian desert. Thirst, heat, and exhaustion claim thousands. When Alexander at last returns to Babylon, grief follows him. His closest friend, Hephaestion, dies suddenly. Alexander descends into mourning. Some say he began to speak of even greater ambitions, plans to unite cultures, peoples, and gods into a single world. But then, fate has other plans. In June of 323 BC, at just 32, Alexander falls ill. Within days, the conqueror of worlds is dead. Rumors swirl, poison, fever, divine justice. No heir stands ready. His vast empire, stitched together by his will alone, fractures almost immediately. Generals carve kingdoms from its corpse. His young wife and unborn child become pawns, then victims in the struggle for power. Yet Alexander was never truly gone. The cities he founded flourished. His name became a legend whispered in distant lands, a symbol of audacity, genius, and ambition unfettered by the possible. His short life set a standard for greatness in the age that followed Hellenistic. Multicultural and revolutionary changed art, science, and belief for centuries to come. Was Alexander a force of civilization or destruction? Was he lucky, or was he destined for immortality? What if he had lived 10 years longer? How far could his shadow have stretched? Perhaps the greatest legacy of Alexander is this. More than 2 millennia later, the world still remembers. Would you have marched with him, or would you have stood against him? Comment below, and don't forget to join us for the next chapter in history's greatest stories.